Hello and welcome to this very color coordinated SUPboarder review on the Aquatone Jungle 13-foot tandem board. Now, tandem board, I'm going to need some help to do this review. So we brought in my wife Claire, who I'm going to let you know now is 7 months pregnant. She was up for the challenge to jump on this board with me and explore some of our local waterways. So you'll see Claire throughout this video. Now, it was really exciting to get our hands on this. I've never ridden a tandem board before, neither had my wife. So we're really interested to see how it was going to perform on the water. So we're going to bring you that throughout the video. We're going to speak about Aquatone, the brand. We're going to introduce the board and the specifications, looking at how it performed on the water, going into the pros, cons, value for money, and of course at the end, who this board is going to suit. So getting into it, to start with, Aquatone, they are the sister brand of Astron for those of you out there that don't know. Astron are a brand that came into the SUP realm a few years ago now with quite a large range of boards, and all their boards have a double chamber. So this is a single chamber board, so you're just one valve to pump up, but a double chamber means you have an inner chamber here that you can pump up. But all the Aquatone ranges, they have the single chamber, and it is a little bit of a cheaper price point when compared to Astron. Getting into the specifications on this board today, this is the Aquatone Jungle at 13 feet long, 34 inches in width, 6 inches thick, and that equates to 470 litres of volume. The weight comes in at about 13 kilograms, which is 29 pounds, and the recommended maximum payload on this board is 205 kilograms or 450 pounds. The max rider is 2 adults plus 1 child, and definitely suited to those more flat water, calm conditions. The maximum PSI on the Jungle is 15 PSI. You have 2 center fins with this board, and prices start from £549, dollars or euros. Taking a dive into the construction of this board, like we said before, it's a single chamber, and this board uses the light drop stitch material with stringer technology. So what that means is they've added a strip of layer in the middle of the board from nose to tail, both along the top and along the bottom. That strip's 13 centimeters wide and just adds a little bit of reinforcement for added stiffness. Along the rails, there is a single PVC inner layer, and then there's also an outer rail band that seals the board. The way this board is manufactured means that it is quite light because they're using less materials. Now, you'd pay more for a board with more materials because it's going to add a little bit more extra durability, a little bit more quality to the product, but it is going to add the weight as well. So if you're looking for a light board, it's definitely one of the lightest tandem boards on the market. Taking a look at the fittings we can see on this board, let's start with the EVA deck pad on top. We have this 3-stage deck pad, quite nice to be able to let you know where to stand. We've got the front deck pad for the paddler up front, and that deck pad at the back to know where to stand if you are paddling behind. And then there's a deck pad in the middle where you could probably put a little bit of gear, maybe your kid, dog, things like that. We've got 2 bungee systems on the Jungle board, one at the front and one back behind the person standing at the back. That's really great. You'll be able to store lots of gear on this board. So we've got 4 handles around the middle of the board, 2 to each side, and then 1 handle up at the front. So with 2 people carrying it, it is quite easy, and the handles are quite nice and small, so they're not going to get in your way too much. Also on the deck of this board, we have some windsurf mast points, which means you can add a sail to the board, which I think is a great addition to this board. It means it's going to give it that little bit of versatility in the water, so you are able to attach some accessories to it and really mix it up to how you want this board to perform. Flipping the board over, we have 2 center single fin boxes. Now, the package does come with 2 fins. They're both 9-inch plastic fins, and they have the slot-in, click-in system. So quite a cool way to put your fin in. You know it's not going to be going anywhere. The fins are the same shape, just that traditional dolphin shape, which means you're getting a blend of performance and tracking. Of course, up on the deck, you also have your single valve point to inflate the board and deflate. Taking a look at the outline shape of the 13-foot Jungle, we can see that it is quite parallel in its outline. So what that means is we have quite straight edges along the sides from nose to tail, and that helps with stability and straight line tracking. Putting this board through the deflection test, and it came in at 19 millimeters with its flex. Now, if you haven't watched one of our reviews before, the deflection tests the stiffness of the board. So what that means is stiffness is going to give you performance on the water. It's going to react and act more like a composite or a hard board would. So the less that the board deflects, the more performance and the better the board is going to be. We get boards that range from 8 millimeters to about 26, 27 millimeters in how far that they bend and they deflect. So at 19 millimeters, it is pushing it up to the higher end of flexiness and bendiness within the board, but you'd probably think it's expected from such a big board with a single chamber with not too much material. And I think what really helps this board is that stringer technology to stiffen the board up slightly. Now we've taken a look at the board and its fittings. Let's take a look at the package that you get with this. So as a tandem board, you're getting 2 of pretty much everything. So you're getting 2 paddles within the package. Now the paddles are an aluminium paddle. They are quite heavy, just that basic introductory paddle, good for getting on the water for the first time. You also get 2 leashes with the board as well, both ankle leashes branded up with the Aquatone logos. Quite a great coiled leash that you get with it. Taking a look at the pump that you get with the Aquatone package, is a fully branded up pump, a double action pump as well. So with this little red screw cap with that in, you can actually pump up the board on the upstroke and on the downstroke. And if you take it out, once the pumping gets a little bit too hard, once you're getting up to that maximum PSI, you just pump on the downstroke, so that upstroke's a little bit easier. Fairly nice pump, pumped up the board a few times, gets it up to that PSI. The PSI on the Jungle 13 foot goes to 15 PSI maximum pressure. Taking a look at the bag that you get with the package, really lightweight bag, those mesh sides, no padding on the shoulder straps or on the back. You'd expect that from a brand such as Aquatone in that cheaper price point range, but it's alright because you can fit everything plus the board into that bag. So getting into the fun stuff, let's firstly talk about pumping up this board. Now, for a board that's 13 feet long, 34 inches wide, 6 inches thick, 470 liters of volume, looking at that pump, you'd think it would take a lot of work to be able to fill this board with air. But in fact, it was fairly easy. It took under 10 minutes, maybe about 8 minutes for me to pump up this board fully. It was a really hot day, so we didn't put in the maximum pressure of PSI. We pumped it up to about 13.5, 14 PSI. If you do pump it up more on a hot day, what happens is the air inside expands if the board gets hot, and that can lead to, leaks, popping, and things like that. So good idea to, if it's a hot day, just pump it up underneath that pressure. Now we pumped this board up at home, but we drove down to the beach and then we had to carry the board from the car down to the water's edge. And this is where things get a little bit interesting with the Jungle from Aquatone. So first thing that we've noticed is that the handle's right up to the side. Yeah, it's not too bad to carry with 2 of you if you are carrying it down to the water's edge. Like we said, the handles are quite comfortable, but if you are that smaller person or you do have shorter arms, you may find that the board is hitting the bottom or hitting the ground because you just don't have that strength to hold it up too high. Now, it wasn't an issue with us. It could be an issue with other people, especially if you are carrying this board alone by yourself. What we've noticed is there's no central handle on the board. There's no handle that's offset from the rail or offset from the center for you to grab onto by yourself. So you are carrying it either on your head or resting it in your arm, kind of up on your shoulder, which is a little bit awkward. It's fairly light board, but it can get a little bit heavy after time. So the other thing that we've noticed is there is a handle up the front, fantastic, but there should be a handle at the back as well. And there's no handle at the back, which means if you are storing gear on this, especially if you walk down to the water's edge, you've putting gear on the top of the board and on the back of the board with those bungees, and you want to carry it into the water, someone's going to have to really scoop up behind that tail of the board, lift it up, and then walk into the water. The person at the front can easily lift that handle. So handle at the back would have been a great thing. Getting on the water, and we were really interested to see how this board was going to feel. Like we've said before, we've never paddled a tandem board. We thought it was going to be a lot of fun getting out there together, and that was really one of the highlights for us, is just spending time together on the same board. But once we hit the water, we started off on our knees and then I moved to my feet. Claire was still on her knees and it didn't feel overly stable for the very first time getting on the board. Now we're both fairly experienced paddlers. Claire's been paddling quite a lot over the years. I've got her into paddleboarding. She's done quite a few longer touring adventures, overnighters, multi-day things. So she does have a grip on paddling. And like we said, it was just a bit unstable at the start. We really had to find our feet. However, after some time, we were able to stand up together and we did get into a bit of a rhythm, paddling on opposite sides to keep that board moving straight. And then if we needed to really turn around, you could paddle on that one side. While we were out on the water, we did end up paddling through some caves and really experiencing our coastline near us. And we did have some thoughts when we were out on the water. So I'm going to throw it over to Claire and previous Bo to speak about our experience out on the water. So we've been on the water for a few minutes now. We've been through a cave, which has been pretty cool. It's much more difficult than we thought. I feel it's really quite unstable. It's quite glassy out here today. It is a little bit of wind chop, but there's no wind at all, so it's just that leftover kind of bump on the surface of the water. And then also it's got a bit of boat wake, but usually on a SUP you probably wouldn't have too much trouble, but just with two of us on here, it's quite unstable to balance. The tracking of this board, we've been paddling it. It goes okay as long as you're both paddling on opposite sides, and that's pretty easy to keep up for a long distance, but it's a bit tricky to get the switch right from side to side between each other, but also just naturally you want to switch sides, and it doesn't really allow for you to do that until both of you are switching. Claire's doing all the work right now at the front. With the stiffness, it is a bit bendy when it goes over waves. I mean, yeah, it's normal with inflatable boards, but with this one, it's just added again because we've got two people's weight on the board. So it is definitely going to be noticeable. And you'd think maybe Aquatone would bring that into consideration. They've just used the Stringer Tech technology that are in other boards in their range as well. So maybe they could do a bit more stiffness with their board. Might be nice. Just that might counteract that balance issue, I would think. We're paddling past loads of jellyfish. We're going to be jumping in soon for a snorkel. Claire's going to show us around, hopefully find some fish. And yeah, great little day out.
It's not, it's something really big. It's a big animal. It's bigger than a dolphin.
We've just seen something in the water. It's got a huge dorsal fin on it. We're waiting for it to come back up again.
Yes, come toward us. Come.
So one amazing feature of this tandem SUP is when you have fantastic wildlife experiences like we did this evening. We were surrounded by about 6 melon-headed whales, all separated, and we were able to coordinate, chat to each other and make sure that we're in the right position at the right time. I was spotting and on camera while Bo was paddling. Yeah, fantastic, and you can enjoy it together, and that's something so special on a tandem SUP. But yeah, hopefully we got some good footage on the GoPro, fingers crossed. But yeah, what a wonderful evening.
So speaking about this board as a whole, with the package and everything that you get with it, firstly, looking at the pros of this board, definitely ticking off that two people can be on the same board and experience things together. That was definitely the highlight for us, is just being able to be out in the water together, explore together, and really make sure we can get into a bit of a rhythm, have a chat between each other. We're not drifting too far away. You are getting, good value for money. We're going to speak about that again, but really great price point with the Aquatone range. And I do like the option that you can have the windsurf mast attached to the board. Just gives it a bit more versatility as well. Once you were in rhythm together paddling on this board, it felt really stable, great glide. Definitely suggest it and recommend it if you are hoping to get on a tandem board together at a bit of a cheaper price point. But moving into the cons, and I did have quite a few gripes with this board. There were a number of things actually. When I first opened the board up, the first thing I noticed is it doesn't have a leashing point at the back of the board, so you are connecting your leash to the D-rings where the bungees go. So that was a bit of an issue. You do get 2 leashes with this board, so definitely suggest and recommend, and I mean, it's or just a given that one person always wears a leash. In the product video of this board, no one was wearing a leash, so it was really hard to find out where I could attach the leash to. Especially with that second person, if you were to wear a leash, where are you going to attach it to? You could probably attach it to the handles at the side, or even the bungees up on front, which is a fantastic thing because you are standing up closer to the front. But that's definitely something I'm going to highlight, is just with the leashing point at the back. The second thing I'm going to highlight is that you only get 1 bungee strap with the board. So if you were to carry a bit more gear with you, or maybe the person at the back just wanted to put their drink bottle with them, it would be nice to have that second bungee cord come with the board, so you could have that option at the back of the board. The other thing with the Jungle is it has a handle at the front, no handle at the back. It just made carrying the board really difficult, especially if you were to put some gear on the board. Claire and I had to put the board in the water first and then put the gear on top, which means we're getting hit by little waves. But really, you should have a handle at the back, handle at the front. That way you can easily carry with 2 people. And I think a handle in the middle wouldn't go astray either. If you are one person carrying the board down to the beach, say the other person's carrying lots of gear, it would be nice to have a center handle. And another con of the Aquatone boards is just their environmental credibility. All the products come packaged in plastic. It was really disheartening to see because we had a test of a lot of different boards last week. Aquatone did make it into the cut there with the touring test that's going to be coming out on SUPboarder Pro. But a lot of those boards came packaged in paper, in cardboard, and it was just great to see that they are pushing for environmental awareness into the future and moving forward, where Aquatone I think still have a lot of catching up to do. But I understand it's hard when you are manufacturing in a factory that has to wrap everything in plastic. It's hard to change all of those processes, but it would be great to see a lot more brands starting to push forward on that. And moving into that value for money, it sits at that lower price point, but you are getting quite a bit for your money. You pretty much can get a board that's going to have 2 people on it for the price of 1. So that is a really fantastic thing that Aquatone offer, is just that cheaper price point, getting people out there on the water. And you're getting some good quality. The leash is great quality. You're getting quite a nice pump with the package as well. The paddles could be improved. Of course, you could probably upgrade that within the range. And the fins could be slightly bigger. So who is this board going to suit? Well, I could say that it just suits every couple out there, and anyone looking for a tandem board could go and get this one. But I definitely think it's suited to those people who are at that beginner to, let's say, intermediate range, that have their eyes set and their mind set on getting a tandem board, but maybe can't afford that premium price point of the other brands that are out there on the market. This is a great entry level into that tandem realm. It's going to get you out on the water together, enjoying experiences together. And I think that's a fantastic sales point of a tandem board. However, we just do need to keep in mind that the first time or the first couple of goes when you go out on the board is going to take that extra kind of energy and that extra time to get into a rhythm together when you are paddling, especially with the balance issue as well. If you're not synced in with your balance together, that could lead into a few issues down the line. So even, getting up into toward that intermediate paddler might be a little bit of a better option. I really believe a small family, 1 or 2 children, You could get a whole family on this board and still have great fun at the beach. You'd have the kids jumping off it, which would be really cool. And you could paddle out to, a little bay or a little cove, or you could do a little bit of a touring day with this board as well. Just with that storage capacity, there is the options to take quite a bit of gear with you, which is great. Having a kid sitting in the middle, having a kid up the front, a dog on the board, there are lots of options with this. So if this is something that interests you to be able to get into tandem paddling, maybe take the family out on a board, the Jungle 13 foot definitely could be that option for you. And just speaking about the warranty of the Aquatone boards, you do get a 1-year manufacturer's warranty. So if anything does go wrong, you can call them up. As we wrap up the video, I just really want to thank Claire, who gave up her time to paddle this board with me. Thank you so much for tuning in to the Aquatone Jungle review. We really hope you enjoyed listening to this. And if you'd like any more information, please check out the post up on SUPboardermag.com. You'll be able to see the scales and all of the different levels that we've rated this board at. So do make sure to check that out. And of course, there are a ton of other videos up on SUPboarder Mag for you to look at, watch reviews, and see which board might be right for you. Thanks again, and we look forward to seeing you on another SUPboarder review really soon.